Well, I'd like to welcome to the station Sarah Chislett from Castlemaine. Sarah is an apprentice chef at the hospital. You've been having some interesting experiences lately with Fonterra Foods. Tell us all about it.
I was lucky enough to find on the internet it was actually an application to be a part of a program called Proud to be a Chef. And in doing so, I applied for it and was lucky enough to be selected as one of 27 apprentices from Australia and New Zealand to participate in the program.
Great.
So for the program, they send me down to Melbourne, paid for sort of all of your expenses to get there and to stay there. So I stayed at the Radisson Hotel for 3 nights. We went out to Maha Restaurant, we went to La Luna Bistro, and we went to the Albert Park at the lake, the restaurant there. And then we met sort of our masterclass teachers as such. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. So Adrian Richardson, we had him for the day. We also had Scott Pickett and Peter Wright. So they're all sort of high up there chefs who definitely know what they're talking about and have all got their own story and different idea of the food industry. So Adrian's restaurant was La Luna. So we dined there. He explained to us his menu. We got to taste sort of more food than you could imagine. You all but had to roll yourself out the door by the time you were finished. And just it was nice to sit down with someone at that level, even though you were slightly starstruck. They didn't make you feel like this little person. They sort of encouraged you and helped you sort of realise, I suppose, what you want to get out of the industry. And by doing so, Fonterra is there as a backup to help and just a major sponsor.
So this would have been a great experience for a little girl from the country, eh? I would imagine it'd be overwhelming.
It was a slight shock. I'm definitely a country girl and got down to the city and took the wrong turn off and made me way back. It was a bit of fun for the morning, but it was one of the best things I've done. I think I've done quite a lot of competitions and that definitely tops them all.
So what do you think this means for you in the long term? What do you reckon?
I think that it's just good to have sort of the networking. That was one of the biggest things that they were I can't think of the word, they were onto. They wanted you to network between the 27 apprentices, so right from Western Australia, Northern Territory to New Zealand, to talk to one another and see what each and everyone is doing and where they're going. It opens up so many doors, really. You can get to know people such as Carolyn Plummer, who organises the program, and just Fonterra being a supporter, there's always someone that can help you, if you need to find out information, or for instance, if you go to Melbourne and work, everyone's got a contact, someone knows someone. It's just a good way to meet people and just make the most of the industry.
I'm talking to Sarah Chislett, and we'll be back in just a minute or two. And now it's back to our delightful apprentice chef, Sarah Chislett.
Finish in February, so I've only got sort of just over 3.5 months to go. And then that'll be finished. It'll be a bit sad to go, but it's been a good 3 years. So
you will be moving on to something else?
Yeah, I think so. It's a sort of time just to experience something else while I'm young and give someone a chance to get a really good full-time job. So if anyone's interested, definitely keep your eyes and ears open.
So do you think you might have to go to Melbourne, perhaps, or do you hope to stay in the country?
I think so. I've got a few things picked out that I'd like to do. But ultimately, if something crops up that's a good experience, I'll take that first. And I'm not really sure where I'll be, but that doesn't really matter at the minute. It's just about getting out there while I can, while I'm not tied down to anything, and just experiencing the industry for the best that it has.
Sarah, what made you decide that you'd like to be a chef in the first place?
It was sort of a funny story. I originally wanted to be a hairdresser. And then in year 10 at Castlemaine Secondary, I went for work experience at the hospital. And after the first week, I actually cried when I left because I didn't want to go back to school. I found that was the one thing that I wanted to do. I always loved cooking, but I just never realised quite how much. So I kept going back, and then eventually a job come up, which I applied for and I got. So it took a while, but it was worth it.
You made yourself indispensable up there, did you? They just had to have Sarah there, did they?
I don't know. They'd probably say otherwise, but no, they've been fantastic. Very supportive, and you couldn't ask for anything more.
So do you have any big ambitions, any big plans for the future, Sarah? Are you going to have your own restaurant maybe? Or?
I'd like to have a cafe probably one day. Not so much a restaurant, because I'd like to be able to make my own produce, I suppose. So things like sausages and breads and casseroles, I'd like to be able to refine it, whereas in a big restaurant you've got to have so many other people doing it. It just doesn't quite have the same value. Whereas a little cafe, you can have that sort of home, warm feeling with all the good food and good service, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'd like to probably come back to my TAFE at Bendigo and be a teacher one day, because they've been probably probably the biggest supporter that I've had to sort of go and venture out and do different things. And they'll be sadly missed next year when I don't have to go to trade school. But I think I'll probably go away and venture out for a little bit, and then perhaps come back and settle back down into life.
And Fonterra have been pretty good for you, huh?
Fonterra have been fantastic. They'd have to be the biggest supporters of the chefs at this current time. They're a massive company that cover quite a lot of products and different ranges, and they're the only ones that are really stepping up to sponsor big events and set things up like this. It's purely Fonterra that do this, and without them, I mean, I wouldn't have got the benefits from it. I wouldn't have met the people I've met and know the stuff that I know now, or be exposed to things that just everyday people. I mean, I wouldn't have gone and be able to dine with Adrian Richardson if it hadn't have been for Fonterra. So those experiences don't come every day.
That's for sure. Sarah, we'd like to congratulate you on your success so far. And thank you for coming in and sparing the time to talk to us today.
That's all right. Thank you very much for having me.
We've been talking to Sarah Chislett.